Hi, this is Matt with State of Flux, and I have...
Huge movie fanatic Nate as a special guest once again, and thank you for having me.
Yep. I wanted to do a brief little discussion on your thoughts on streaming movies. Kind of, do you stream movies? Does it matter to you? And my thoughts on it based on how I grew up watching movies.
You want to lead off with your thoughts, and I can piggyback?
So, I'm a firm believer in seeing movies in the theater, but unlike like a Christopher Nolan, we just talked on his channel about Oppenheimer and how a lot of the best moments of that film really are showcased through the cinematic experience of seeing it in the theater that is quite diminished when you're watching it at home. I don't think that just because you don't see a movie in the theater, a movie can't or shouldn't be able to play. And my source to cite for that would be, I grew up in the VHS era. Most of my favorite movies I watched for the first time at home. It's something where I have to play catch up if ever Aliens is in the theater, that I'm like, oh, I need to go and see that. And it's kind of cool that there are certain theaters that do retro titles, and there's a whole flashback cinema thing that happens at multiple different theater chains. It's really cool, that gives you that experience to see it theatrically, because it is a completely different thing to see something in a communal aspect. But just because something is streaming, I don't think mutes it. However, I think the conversation is muted. So I just wanted to hear what you kind of thought about that, because you also probably saw most things for the first time at home, rather, that you really value and love, right?
Yeah, getting into the horror movies, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. I got into those movies when they were mostly almost over.
Yeah.
So obviously I saw all those at home and saw a lot of things at home. Obviously, being a kid, I saw a lot at the theater as well. But you're right, a lot of the stuff that was out and gone before I had any interest, or I was old enough or whatever, Texas Chainsaw, the original, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I saw a lot of stuff at home as well. So what is your general question regarding?
What is your feeling on streaming movies? Do you find that film is necessitated to be seen in the theater? Certainly there are things you'd want to watch probably more in a theater.
Well, the thing is with me though, is I don't know if you know or if I've talked about it, I got a relatively decent home theater, like a projector.
Okay.
And a big space to put the projector far enough back where it can get pretty big on the wall, and the 5.1 surround. So I pretty much got the theater in the house. But what happened to me, and this kind of goes into another video we may or may not do in the future, is when theaters, I got, in the last several years when theaters started to do reserve seating, which might be another topic we can talk about, or maybe we can just meld it into this one. That might be, who the hell knows, we'll meld it in. That kind of started to put me off from the movie theater going experience, and the more they changed it from what I grew up in, just kind of first come, first serve, and all kinds of other things. Over the years, me pushing 50, it's just I'm not too keen on the current present movie going experience, and having lazy boys that retract and you end up with people snoring next to you and this kind of thing. And so it's kind of I've aged out of the theatrical experience and stuff. And what happened at the same time is, streaming got more prevalent, and my mom had Amazon Prime years ago. I had relatively shitty high-speed internet for a long time, and I only recently got better stuff. And I got to tell you, 'cause I was able to watch Prime, but it was not HD. It was crap or whatever.
Yeah. And
I got to tell you, when I got better internet, it was just wow. It's. So to answer your question, it's oh God, I'm. It's funny because I was kind of remember Redbox as well, because you and I worked. Yeah. We met at a video store.
Yeah.
And I think that the video stores were dying, and a lot of reasons it was because of Netflix, and I think we talked a lot about Redbox at the time too, and I think, I don't know about you, but I think I was pretty sure that the video store we worked and met at, we would be there when we would close it.
Yeah,
which
that's ultimately what happened. Yeah, I was planning to ride and die with that place.
Yeah, so that's what ended up happening. And I know for me, at the time I was really kind of pissed off at, and this is before I don't know if I knew I'm kind of a late bloomer when it comes to a lot of things. I don't know if I knew so much about streaming at that time, but I knew that Netflix back in the day was like, do they still send you discs, or are they?
No, they discontinued that, I think, last year.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm surprised they went that long, honestly.
Yeah,
but,
I am too, a little bit.
But for me, it was like rage at like Netflix and Redbox and things for killing video stores.
The day that our store closed was the day I signed up for Netflix.
You've said that,
Yeah.
I think, last year.
Yeah.
Is it just by chance, or?
It just, like, I was also moving into
Okay.
an apartment with my wife, and we knew we weren't going to be able to afford cable.
Wife to be.
Yeah. We weren't going to be able to afford cable or anything like that. And
So
like,
it's just happenstance.
yeah, and she didn't have a DVD player, so I was like, well, let's just do Netflix. And then I was like, wow, the irony.
Oh God! Did you think about that and just like slap yourself? Like, in a way, it's just like,
I remember like pulling the trigger on it, where I was just like,
hell
man.
with it.
Yeah, I was like, well, there's
Guilt.
no real reason. It's not like there's other options available, really.
That's true.
So.
You can't blame you. But what I will say, having had decent internet for the past several years, and with Beth, we did sign. I never had Netflix until recently, and with Beth, we signed up for that, and I was able to. It seemed like years ago, months ago, I think it was over a year ago, I signed up for like this really like $2 a month Peacock, and I thought it was just going to be 3 months. It turned out to be like a lot longer than that. They just recently raised it, so I'm like, damn it. But
Yeah.
it's like $6, whatever. But what I'm finding using streaming is that it is fun to be able to see these movies for what I call, I generally want to say free, but it's not free because you're paying for
Yeah.
the service. What I call no additional cost.
Yeah.
It is cool when like stuff pops up on Netflix. Like I was able to see Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Have you seen Thanksgiving?
I just watched that one.
Maybe a
because of yeah. we
Maybe a
probably did
review
that.
someday. And it was cool to be able to see Thanksgiving, and it was cool to be able to see, Five Nights at Freddy's, Beth like that, and me not so much, but, Night Swim, just all these things that I would never think for a moment to go to the theater to
Yeah.
see. So, like, you can see these at no additional cost. I kind of like that, and I kind of understand why streaming killed video stores, because
Yeah.
I guess I kind of like it. I don't know if that's answering.
Well, I mean, I also like streaming. I do think that the value of seeing things in a cinematic landscape is important, because you do get those cultural moments that are just like, wow. Like I talked in the video on this channel about the kid sitting behind me at Godzilla. I also talked about that in my review on this channel, and how that just was like a tethering moment. I will always have that moment, and you don't really get that when you're watching a movie at home. Shy of
Agreed.
like, I remember watching the remake of Psycho at my house once, and a spider descended from the ceiling. I was in total darkness, and just illuminated against, like, its silhouette against the TV was the spider that was dangling in front of me at the moment when the big reveal of turning of the chair
no way.
was. It was perfectly timed, and I'm petrified of spiders, so I almost shat instantly. But that, like, shy of a moment like that, or your cat attacking you or something like that, you don't have moments like that at streaming, right?
I see.
I guess you could do, like, group watches, and I've done that, but it's not
Well,
necessarily the same experience.
I'm trying to think of, it's been a long time since, I'm trying to think of, I see what you're saying. Like, I haven't been to a movie for a long time that had, like, any sizable audience, but I see what you're saying. Like, the...
Avengers Endgame was a great example. of
I
that.
don't doubt it. And I hear, like, that Spider-Man one with the three
Yeah,
different
that was-
Spider-Man, that was, like,
That also, like, had a great cinematic reaction.
I guess in regards to, like, the communal theatrical experience, like, I guess I'm just so grumpy when it comes to just the way theaters have changed that it's more negative thoughts regarding the theatrical experience than positive for me, and it's a bummer, I guess, because hearing you speak so, like, passionately about the positive experiences kind of makes me go, I'm just trying to think of, like, I remember seeing, oh my God, this was so disappointing. We someone that I knew at one point, and we went to Mall of America to go see Clockwork Orange. This was like early 2000s.
Okay.
And we were so excited because I don't think they had ever seen it in the theater. I think I had at a thing previous years. And we were so disappointed because it was one of these things where the kids, when it started, everyone was saying every line. Have you ever been to something like that?
The Lord of the Rings. I did a marathon of that in 2008, and there was, by the time Return of the King, people were clapping at every moment, and it's like it loses its value at a certain point in
we
time.
walked out like this is the scene right where they find the beating up the we walked out and got our money back.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh my God, I don't know why I thought of that. I was trying to think of positive. See what I mean? I went to a negative.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of a positive.
And I mean, like, there are negatives. Like, you could have the a-hole that's talking in the theater. Now the thing is, like, somebody on their phone, or bringing a kid to a movie and giving them the phone.
You know what? I think that's my answer, is that at my age, I'm like become the grumpy old man in regards to movie theaters. So I guess, and it's kind of sad, you kind of open my eyes and shine a different light on the situation. Like, it's kind of beautiful how you're still like, you're so positive about the theatrical, and I'm like, bah humbug.
I think there are certain types of movies that also play better. Like, comedies are great in a theater.
That's true, because
like, part of hearing other people laugh, this is why a lot of sitcoms used to have laugh tracks, is it invites you to feel like it's okay to laugh as well. And watching something at home is not like you get it the one time, and that's kind of it. You can watch a comedy in theater multiple times, the same one, and because of the communal laughter, you will respond as well. It's just kind of naturally innate in you to do so. Horror plays well as well, assuming that a-holes aren't talking and whatnot, because the jump or the reveal or like the mounting dread, the white knuckle response, it works really well in a theater.
I can remember seeing what the hell was it? The Others? Is that with Nicole Kidman in the theater? And it was like some door opened and some old woman's face appeared. It was like, ah! You know, someone in the theater screamed.
Yeah, like I have plenty of experiences like with that, especially in the horror genre. But like maybe dramas, I guess. Like don't
need to see in the theater.
Not for me anyway. But so I was just interested in picking your brain. I do think the thing that we lose by watching things at home is also the community aspect of going out and talking to others about it. Like, I guess people can like tweet or whatever.
What others are you talking about? You just talk to strangers?
Well, yeah, just like talking to other people. Like, finding movies that become cultural touchstones still exclusively happens in the theatrical landscape. I don't think you get that. Like, when's the last time that somebody is like, what was that movie with The Rock and Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds from like Netflix? It was their most expensive film of all time. It was like a $250 million budgeted movie, and I can't even remember the Red Notice. Is that what it is?
I wouldn't know.
Nobody talked about it. Like, I'm sure people watched it. Like, Netflix reported big numbers. Nielsen,
what the hell year would that have been?
2022.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's before I had Netflix, but yeah. But I never heard about it.
But yeah, exactly. That's right. Or Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon is playing like now on Netflix. That's the Zack Snyder Star Wars ripoff.
Oh.
And who's really on it? Like, it's not holding any hold on the cultural landscape. Granted, it's not very good, but even still, like, we used to be able to shit on bad movies. Like, Halloween 6 was a great talking point when I saw that amongst my friends and stuff back in the day. And we're losing that because, like, we watch it at home, we respond, unless it's like a genuinely amazing movie or a genuinely atrocious one, we don't really talk about it anymore. We might throw a tweet or letterboxd review, and that's it.
I can remember, here's a good anecdote. I can remember 3 buddies of mine. Well, actually, I didn't like the one guy. I was friends with this guy. That's how I kind of came up with that idea for my movie with the 3 friends. Like, one of them is friends with you, and then one of them's friends with him, and then that one guy kind of didn't like you.
Yeah, I remember that.
But anyway, so all three of us went to see Quick and the Dead, Sam Raimi's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we got in there, we were too late, and it was right at the beginning. We didn't know how much we'd missed.
Yeah.
So then we got the hell out of there, and we were going to come back and see the next one, and we'd be on time. So we just went and got like something to eat, and then came back, and I've never forgot that. You know,
Yeah.
just kind of like the happenstance of being a few minutes too late,
Yeah.
not wanting to miss anything,
Yeah.
and then we just went out and got something to eat for as long as the movie is, and
Yeah.
came back and saw it again. So that's something that obviously I've not forgotten, and it was something that wouldn't have happened if I just would have rented the tape.
Yeah, and like you talk about a movie afterwards. If you like, I'm assuming after that movie ended, you talked about Quick and the Dead with those people.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's very rare that you're like, well, good night, and then just like everybody parts. But at home, it's like maybe you throw a text to one of your friends or something to be like, hey, did you watch this? And like, no, oh, you should, or you shouldn't, and then it kind of dies, or maybe we talk a little bit, but like, I do feel like there is value in both mediums. Is my
I'd agree with that.
And I don't think we should completely dispose of streaming, and I certainly don't think that theatrical experience should go away. But
here's a good question in closing. How do you feel about, it's kind of inevitable, but the ridiculous, like whatever you want to call it, turnaround time between movies in the theater and then it's like streaming, it seems like 4 weeks later.
It hurts, and also kind of is a benefit sometimes.
How is
because if there's a movie I know I don't want to see in the theater,
by the way,
I'll just
he's
watch
in
it
the
at home.
movie theater business.
Yes, I am.
He's got inside info.
It benefits me personally, so this is regardless of any kind of like theatrical distribution thing. If, like, say, Five Nights at Freddy's, you brought it up. I actually saw that in the theater, and I thought it was okay. But, like, if my daughter hadn't wanted to see that, I don't think I would have gone. So I saw it to screen to see if it was okay for her to watch.
What the hell was that rated?
PG-13.
Oh, okay. I was gonna...
That said, like... That was a movie that was like announced that was coming out the same day on Peacock, and like,
oh, that's right, like the Halloween sequels.
Yeah, and I was like, that there is a benefit to like just F it, let's watch it at home. There's also a benefit of like, I really want to see Argyle. Like, that movie looks so good. Suddenly the reviews aren't good, and like film Twitter is really down on the movie and is like, oh, maybe I'm not going to see this in the theater. It's okay, it's coming out on like Apple Plus in 3 weeks. And then I watch it and I have my response to it or whatever. That said, so like there's that benefit, but at the same time, there used to have this exclusivity. I remember Mortal Kombat, where like I loved Mortal Kombat and I wanted to own Mortal Kombat, and I couldn't get it for a whole year because it took a year before things would come out.
Did you know that, Jurassic Park, so that came out probably in June of 93 or something?
Yeah.
It didn't come out until October 1994 on home video.
I
was working at Suncoast.
We pre-ordered it, and we wanted to make sure we were getting the letterboxed version of
Letterbox VHS. You could do letterbox VHS or pan and scan.
Yeah. So I made sure we got the letterboxed one, and I remember just waiting and waiting and waiting for the day when it finally got the call.
You would have been what, 7 or 8, and you knew
8.
about letterbox?
Yep.
Wow.
I watched Siskel and Ebert, son. So yeah. But anyway, that was my question, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
what do you guys think?
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. I think for a grumpy old Kaiser. Or geezer, Kaiser.
Kaiser Sosa.
Streaming is actually becoming more agreeable for this grumpy old geezer who is getting put off by the modern theatrical film going experience. So,
as a father too, like it is nice to have access to new content at home, but it's also kind of the fact that I used that word and I'm viewing things as content is also somewhat problematic from a person who loves film.
Yeah, I don't use that word. Why did you use that word? Did it slip out?
No, just because that's kind of how I view streaming stuff.
Oh,
even if it
okay.
is
So
like,
even if it's a piece of art, because it's on streaming, it's content.
it's just content. It's there for me to consume en masse, and like,
so it's
but
not content in the theater.
No, not really.
Yeah,
like,
beautiful.
yeah.
That makes sense.
But
that, it's content on streaming, but in the theater, it's
in the theater, it
cinema.
matters.
That's
yes.
funny.
But like, as a parent who wasn't able to go and see movies as I had prior to, like, streaming was a benefit. So there is benefits, there's its problems. What does everybody think online? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below.
Did you go to the theater with your kid for 5 nights or streaming?
I went to the theater to watch it solo and determined
Why'd you go to
that
the theater to watch it if it's on Peacock?
I didn't have Peacock.
Oh, that's a good.
Like I could have had access to Peacock, but I wanted to make sure that the movie was appropriate, and it probably wasn't. So I didn't.
Wasn't? Oh, so you didn't show her?
I didn't. No, she was obsessed with. She still is obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, just based on the concept of it. And she was like, "It's not rated R. I can see it." And I'm like, "Well, no." So I watched it, and I was like, she thinks she's braver than she is. So I was like, I still don't think she'd probably respond well to it. So
yeah, you should have said, "There's a reason it's PG-13, kid."
Pretty much. She could probably watch it like next year.
And she'll be how old?
Like 10.
Holy crap!
I know,
10
right?
next year. All right,
Yeah.
Matt. Well, thank you very much for having me as a guest, and I hope I answered some questions. I think it was a pretty good talk.
I do too.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Peace.
Thanks for watching, everyone.